Hey everybody, this is Jamie Stillman with Team Stillman Mortgage, and thank you for joining us today. We've got a special guest in studio with us today, and that's Mr. Charlie Davidson. He is a good friend of mine. He is an excellent real estate agent in the Rutherford County area and kind of does stuff all over the place. But he has a lot more going on in his life besides that, real estate and a family and all kinds of stuff that we'll talk about. So I'll let him tell you a little bit about himself, and then we'll just chat about a few things like we usually do. So Charlie, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Jamie, thanks for having me here today.
Absolutely. So tell a little bit about what you do and who you are for the people that don't know out there.
Yeah. I'm a real estate agent with John Jones Real Estate. Kind of locally grown, lived in Murfreesboro my whole life. You can actually kind of trace my roots back in Murfreesboro to where my grandfather was the town butcher. So
oh, wow.
I'm full of a lot of, some people may say, useless information, but I can go way back with history of Murfreesboro from where it was a horse and buggy town onto today. So
that's really cool. So how long have you been in real estate and with John Jones Real Estate?
I've been a real estate agent for going on 8 years. Been at John Jones Real Estate the whole time.
Okay.
Started out with my cousin Tommy's team and then moved over to being a single agent after a couple of years.
Cool. What about family? I think we share that in common. We've got few kids and that kind of stuff going on, right?
We've got my wife is a middle school math teacher, and then I have 3 daughters, age 21, 19, and 13. So keep us busy.
All girls.
All girls. I'm
That's
a girl
fun.
dad.
That's awesome. Anybody in college or do anything like that?
Yeah, got 2 in college. One attends a little small private school in West Tennessee called Freed Hardman.
Oh, yeah.
And the other one is at Harding University in Arkansas. So.
Very cool. Awesome. So when it comes to real estate, are you kind of locally based with Murfreesboro, Rutherford County? Kind of how far out do you go for clients?
I am. Bulk of my business is in Rutherford County, but as real estate has kind of spread out with the way the market is in some of these smaller towns. We're starting to see them boom.
Yeah.
My area is more Middle Tennessee. Middle Tennessee area. I'm spending a lot more time.
Yeah. So you were talking about growing up in Murfreesboro and being there. So talk a little bit about the change from when it went to, like it is now that it's so big in Murfreesboro and Rutherford County that people are moving outside and kind of pushing out. People always say Nashville was kind of like that for a while. Then everybody pushed out to Murfreesboro.
Right.
So when did you start to see that change and kind of where are people going now?
I tell you, I think about 5 or 6 years ago, you started to see, I will use Shelbyville, Manchester, Tullahoma, even Woodbury. You started to see people venture out from Murfreesboro.
Yeah.
Part of it was Murfreesboro traffic, you noticed, was getting bad. And it's like, man, we're having a lot of people here. And then in 2021, kind of right as we were coming, the COVID, we just started taking off, and Murfreesboro hadn't looked back since. And then you're seeing a lot of these smaller towns take off, and maybe in some ways seeing some of Murfreesboro's mistakes, trying to grow maybe a little bit more wiser. But we've got a lot of great little communities surrounding Murfreesboro in the Nashville area.
Yeah, I've noticed over the last couple of years how everybody's kind of started pushing, and then over the last, year or two, probably that I've noticed it, now you're even starting to see companies build in Manchester, Tullahoma, McMinnville, where they're building 40, 60, home subdivisions.
Yes.
Where for a little while, it was like people were moving out there to kind of find like those older existing homes. Didn't mind the commute, maybe take them a little while to drive there, but it was a lot cheaper. Now those prices are starting to even go up a little bit because, builders are starting to build out there because there's a demand for it.
You are. You're seeing a lot of that, if you look back 4 or 5 years ago, you could go and buy 5 acres of land for, I'm going to say, $150,000.
Mm-hmm.
5 acres of land, you can't find anything, even in these outskirts, outer areas now for that price. So it's neat to see areas grow. A lot of times, I can remember going back to Atlanta as a child. Well, it was already big. But being able to kind of see the steps that are taken for a city to grow, it's actually very interesting.
Yeah. And Atlanta, so you grew up there, you said? Or
just going to Braves games as a kid.
Yeah.
Just seeing how big it was. And then, now you can say, wow, I remember when Murfreesboro was this small town and, just seeing the steps that it's taken to kind of get where it is. It's very interesting.
Yeah. And you're a little bit of a Braves fan, right?
A little bit of a Braves fan, yes.
Yeah.
So
like the sport of baseball,
somewhat. Yes,
Yeah.
very big baseball fan.
Yeah.
So,
How are they looking this year?
let's talk about something else.
All right, gotcha.
It
On to the
looks
next
like
season.
it's going to be that type of a season. So
Good thing about baseball is 162 games.
that's right.
So I mean, until you get too far into it, you're not officially out for a long time. So
That's right.
Anything can happen. Injuries can happen. Teams can look like they're going to be world beaters, and then halfway through the season fall apart.
Yep.
So,
And as one of my favorite players, Yogi Bear said, "It ain't over till it's over."
That's
so
right.
that's baseball.
That's right. So thinking back, about real estate and helping buyers and sellers and all that kind of stuff, do you have any particular time that kind of stands out in your head that's like either your favorite, thing that happened or favorite part that you like about working with buyers and sellers?
I tell you, most real estate agents start out working with buyers. It's easier. It seems like that's where a lot of agents get their start, and then you move into sellers. But one of probably, I'll say my favorite things about it is every buyer's different. Every situation's different. And, my nickname is Cousin Charlie. My cousin Tommy gave that to me, but I actually sold someone a house, and we were related and had no idea.
Oh, wow.
Kind of about halfway through the process, they're like, "Oh, we're related to some Davidsons."
Uh-huh.
And so we made the connection, and just kind of through real estate, it's kind of turned into, how I run my business. Everybody's got this cousin.
Yeah.
Oh, my cousin so-and-so can help you with this. And a lot of my clients just turned into personal friends.
That's really cool.
And so it's kind of, "Hey, Cousin Charlie, can you help us with this or help us with that? Hey, we need a plumber. We need a painter." So I've kind of taken that role as everybody's kind of crazy cousin in some ways that can help with the needs that they have.
That's really cool. So kind of being real relatable.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. I'm always amazed how big the world is, but then like you always do the small world thing.
Yes.
So I met a guy that came to work for CMG recently, and he specializes in reverse mortgages.
Okay.
So he was coming by, and so loan officers kind of have an option of referring reverse mortgages out or going through the licensing process and doing it on their own.
Right.
And kind of staying in those different lanes. And he came by to see me, and we were talking for a while, and then had a transaction going with him, and he came back, emailed me the other day about, hey, they're on track to close. Everything's great. They're super happy about being in Murfreesboro. And I started thinking, man, I was like, gosh, the guy looks so familiar, but the name doesn't match who I'm thinking he looks like. So I'm like, hey, do you know Greg? And he's like, that's my younger brother.
Oh, wow.
And I'm kind of like, man, I went to school, like middle school, high school, with this guy's younger brother. He actually was there, I think, my first year when I was a freshman.
Okay.
And just didn't remember him at all. But I was just amazed, like, I hadn't talked to Greg in probably 30 years since we graduated from high school. But his brother kind of wanders in. Now
Right.
we work at the same place. It's
Yeah.
kind of wild how you think
It is.
everything's so big, but everything's connected in some way.
It is. And, when you kind of live in a town that you grew up in, I seem to have a lot of those things where, Murfreesboro used to be a small town. We had 2 high schools, Oakland and Riverdale, and everybody knew everybody. But now it's grown to where I think Murfreesboro has 5 high schools. But you still have those connections.
Yeah.
It was very interested to meet up with people or people you knew the name but didn't know them very well.
Yeah.
And kind of make those connections.
And where'd you say you would go to high school at?
I went to
high school.
I went to Oakland High School.
Okay.
So,
Okay. And your daughters?
They went to Siegel High School.
Okay. Okay. So no rivalries there or anything?
A little bit of a rivalry.
Okay. Okay. And I know you're real involved in stuff with that. So not to tell like 200 stories about real estate, but I've kind of heard a few times that, you kind of go above and beyond for your clients sometimes.
I do. I've been known to do some painting or cut a yard, landscaping.
Yeah.
As a real estate agent, you literally are a jack of all trades.
Yeah.
Most real estate agents, I think I can speak for all of us, we're here to help where we can.
Yeah.
That's probably one of my favorite things about the job. As I mentioned earlier, every transaction is different.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you're helping a family that is needing more room because the family's growing. Sometimes it's a family that's looking for less room because they're downsizing. Sometimes it's helping with an estate. Real estate agents, we're here to help.
Yeah.
And that's probably, I think I have the helper mentality. And
Sure.
so that's probably one of my favorite things is wherever people are at, being able to guide them through, this journey that they're on.
Yeah. And I've had this conversation with tons of agents about, not just going above and beyond, but most people feel like it's their duty to take care of clients. But then you also have this small portion of people in every industry. There would be like, that's not my job.
Right.
My job's to negotiate the contract, put a sign in the yard, tell them what the house should sell for. that kind of stuff. And that's, just kind of the human side
Right.
of it, thinking that that's not somebody's job. And that's kind of the small percentage of people in every industry that give it a bad name.
Yep.
Because I think, like you said, being a realtor is awesome, and you get to meet people, be around people, but you get to help them accomplish some of the greatest goals in their life. So, I mean, I think, not speaking for you, but I think if you have to go mow a yard to help somebody out, you're making a big difference in their life and making something happen for them.
That's it.
Yeah.
I'm very blessed, and I definitely include you in this. I get to work with a lot of great people. There's times where I've called you for different things, title companies.
Oh, yeah.
And, we really work in a great industry with a lot of good people that we all have the same goal, which is to get things to the closing table. And when you work with good people, it makes it something you enjoy, getting up every day and going and, helping people achieve their goals. When you, me and you had the privilege of helping a 87-year-old lady achieve home ownership for the first time.
Yeah.
It's something she had promised her dad she was going to do one day and was never able to do it. Just kind of life happened, and then her and her daughter were able to buy a house today. It was a very moving thing to be there.
Oh, man. So moving. I mean, if you ever have those days where it feels kind of rough and you have to remember, this is why I do this,
Yep.
that day's going to stick in my head forever.
Yeah.
I mean,
a day like that, or a day where, we kind of take for granted, the lives that we live and the things that we do. And you've got somebody that literally is a young couple, and they're starting this foundation right now of, home ownership and the path that they want to raise their kids on. And to be able to be a part of that is something special.
Yeah, it really is. And people have different opinions all over the internet and everywhere, but I mean, I'm still a person that believes home ownership can change generations.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, it gives people the ability to not just build equity, the potential to, build wealth through rental if they want to move on, if they want to do whatever. But I also think there's statistics out there to just kind of show home ownership usually helps people excel more. I don't know all the different ties to it, but, better jobs, taking care of things better, all that kind of stuff. It just feels like home ownership gives people such pride that it just kind of flows over to every part of their life.
It definitely does. It's, like I say, it's one of the very neat things, not too many careers that you're in. We literally can see people's lives changing with what we do. And that's one of the exciting things, kind of why I get up every morning, to be able to help people achieve their goals and dreams they can do through home ownership.
That's awesome. So on the flip side, you got to tell me what's the most frustrating thing or the most difficult thing to get up and do every day as a realtor?
That's actually a hard question, because I thoroughly enjoy getting up and going to work every day. But I think, in any career you do, there's always a negative side of it. Sometimes deals fall apart. Sometimes people have hopes and dreams. I guess I'll go back to one of the first homes my wife and I bought. We weren't pre-qualified, didn't really know, but we went and just fell in love with the house. Mm-hmm. And then we got pre-qualified, and we were young married couple, and just didn't qualify for it. And that let down of, getting told, well, unfortunately, you're not pre-qualified here. You're more down in this level. And going through that, I think, things happen in life for a reason. I try to make sure my clients are prepared, because you don't want to have to deliver that, I'll say negative or bad news.
Yeah.
But I can relate to my clients because, hey, I've been there, You're just not where you want to be yet.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's one of the hardest parts for us. And it's just industry wide. It's always been, I say 95% of people call a real estate agent first.
Yes.
And they probably drove around and looked at houses already. So they're already starting to fall in love. They're already asking, hey, can I go see this house? And then you're like, you need to get pre-approved first. So then if we can't pre-approve them, I'm like, man, this is going to hurt.
Yep.
Because they're already thinking we're going to own a home.
Right.
Sometimes they'll go to open houses and look and fall in love with one. So trying to get them to come to us first, get pre-approved, then start the dream is really tough, because it's just kind of how it's been. People call an agent first, which is good, but then it's always good to get pre-approved before you go looking at houses.
Right. It is. And like I said, that's probably one of my least favorite, but it's also a favorite thing, because I've had several clients that I've literally been able to be with them from day one on this journey.
Yeah.
And being able to, hey, you know what, guys, we need to work on this. Let's kind of get our financial house in a little bit better order, to where they're achieving that home ownership, it's a very good thing to see them achieve that goal.
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, I've been a part of, now that I'm getting a little older, I don't feel like I'm that old, but I mean, doing a mortgage for somebody that hung out with my kids, and now they're grown adults, starting a family, having babies, buying houses.
Yes.
It does make me feel a little bit old, but it's the coolest thing in the world when I hear from one of them. I mean, it's like, it's kind of like your own kid buying a house or something, because,
Right.
they went to school with your son or daughter, and seen them around the neighborhood, seen them play ball, cheer, whatever it is, and then they're buying a home. So, I mean, that's, as I get a little bit older, I have a huge appreciation for that.
Absolutely. It's a very good feeling to see somebody do that.
Yeah. Yeah. So listings, what are we seeing more of in the market right now? Are more homes listed, less homes listed? And what's out there if somebody's interested in getting out there, right away to look for homes?
Absolutely. We are blessed where we live in Tennessee, especially Middle Tennessee. Real estate is local. Other parts of the country, I don't think is as fortunate as we are. Mm-hmm. There's still a lot of people buying homes. You're seeing more and more homes, it seems like, come on the market every day, especially in the Murfreesboro, Rutherford County area. It's a great time to buy a home. I've got a client that I want to say I've sold them 3 or 4 homes over the past couple of years, and they always joke, Charlie, I think the time's right to buy a home when I talk to them. And they're one of those that, started out, bought their first home, mm-hmm. got some great advice. Hey, keep this home, turn it into a rental property, buy your next home.
Yeah.
Turn this into a rental property, and then they've been able to really turn it into where they're setting themselves up financially for the future. And there's deals out there every day. If you can afford the home, the best time to buy a home is now.
Yeah.
Our values are going up. Even in, people may say things may be a little tough right now. Our economy may not be the best, but there's still people buying and selling real estate every day.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, there absolutely is. And I think it's great where you just talked about the right way. So there's all kinds of hacks out there and different ways to get into rental properties. But for somebody that doesn't have a big pool of money where they're wanting to dump a bunch of money in, flip it, and do the whole flip and refinance thing, one of the best ways to get into the real estate market over time is to buy that first house and turn it into a rental.
Absolutely.
Use that equity. Because everybody's talking about, well, if I buy this at 25% down as an investment, then I dump this money in. A lot of people stop when they're watching TikTok or whatever, and like, well, where do I get that initial 25% down to do
Right.
whatever I got to do? So one of the best ways is for people over time to get in that first home. And, the generation that we're in, explaining to younger kids, like, your first home is not your dream home.
Right.
Necessarily. There may be some people that are lucky or buy that one house and stay in forever. But if you kind of find out what you're okay with, and while you're just getting started out, find a home that's in a good area, that's in a thriving area, So I think you do a great job of talking to people about, if they're not going to be there a long time, what the resale is like.
Right.
You don't just look at, hey, do I like the way this house is set up? Is it a good house that's going to continue to be marketable in this neighborhood down the road? That's what's going to help you sell and take that equity out if you want to, or make it into a rental. It's got to be in an area where people want to be.
Absolutely.
So I think that's sometimes missed. People are like, well, I can't buy a rental property. I don't have this extra money. But, if you get started and build some equity in something, there's different ways for that next home to lead you into being a landlord, being wealth.
Well, and that's kind of where I think I have a great group of partners that I work with. I'll use having a good lender like yourself to being able to have these conversations and be able to guide people where somewhere they've never been and never thought they could go.
Yeah.
It's a very rewarding part of the job.
Yeah. And I think it's so important that people have those conversations.
Absolutely.
I was talking to a friend of mine that's also an agent, and we were, talking about some of the online stuff, where they're not really getting that human connection and not having those conversations. I'm not using names to protect the innocent.
Right.
But, talking about, they talked to a gentleman that was selling his home, and he really didn't understand how the process worked. They had the buyer.
Right.
And they just happened to see the seller at the home inspection. And, he didn't really understand how anything was working. And he was basically telling this agent, well, I wasn't even really sure I wanted to sell this house. But he was already under contract
Right.
to sell it and didn't know where he was going. So,
Oh, wow.
she was saying nobody even had the conversation with him like, okay, you want to list your house, we're going to sell it. What's your exit plan?
Right.
Where are you going from here? And those little conversations with people seem like everybody would just say, of course you have those conversations. But sometimes if you're not working with a professional, they're not listening. They're not having those conversations.
That's
so
exactly right.
A little scary.
I've kind of put myself on the spot a couple times. I've told people, I've said, hey, if this doesn't work out, you can come stay with me.
Yeah.
And I don't know how happy my wife would be about that. But you've got to always have a good plan and, have a plan A, plan B, and plan C sometimes with real estate and just trying to coordinate everything.
Yeah. So besides real estate, baseball, what other interests do you have? What kind of stuff do you enjoy?
I tell you, of course, spending time with my family. Love any sport that's out there.
Yeah.
Whether it's baseball, football, even basketball. More of a college than a professional basketball guy.
Yeah.
But really, sports and being with my family are probably my two things. I'm not much of a golfer.
Mm-hmm. I
Can't fish. So those are probably my two other things.
And when you say college, it immediately makes me think. I think you're also one of those orange and white.
A little bit.
Can't remember the name of the school.
Yeah. School to the east of us. Big Tennessee fan.
Yeah.
So it's a good way to kind of relax and maybe let some of your frustrations go sometime to just spend a little time watching sports.
Yeah. You ever get out to football or baseball in Knoxville?
I've been a couple times.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Try to go a couple games each year if I can.
Yeah. The baseball team's pretty rowdy right now.
They are a little bit. They had a little skirmish with your Vanderbilt team last weekend.
It's kind of exciting, man. I've been a sports fan my whole life too, and I tell people all the time, like, I don't want it to get out of control, but I like when my kids were playing ball and they were teenagers and we were playing at a really high competitive level travel ball. It was kind of fun, nothing got out of hand, but being a little bit chippy, having a little bit of an edge, it kind of makes the competition a lot more fun from viewing it. I think.
Absolutely, it does. I guess that's one of the great things about our job as a real estate agent. You can make your schedule to where you can fit, maybe an afternoon baseball game in. Work your schedule to go to the football games. You still have that, grow up playing baseball. I still have that competitive drive, and you definitely like the games when they get in that situation.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, and that's one of my favorite parts about mortgages is that I can do them from anywhere as long as I've got a laptop or my phone.
That's right.
I can do it. Sometimes I need to be in the office, buckled down, going through stuff. But I mean, last night my son turned 29. We were having dinner at Olive Garden. We got wrapped up, and I walked outside and was on a Zoom call with a real estate team just answering questions about stuff. And I'm like, I'm doing that at, 7:30 last night. And I'm like, it's so cool that I can take care of that. Also be there with my kid, and just being mobile like that's one of the coolest things in the world. And I think it's important to take advantage of that we can do it from anywhere.
It is. We're very blessed in, I think, both the fields we work, and there's some others out there that we do have the freedom, but yet it's one of those things kind of sometimes we're on call.
Yeah.
But to be able to, whether it's go support your kids and activities they're in, but being able to just hop up, take a phone call or get on your laptop.
Yeah.
Definitely helps make it more of a rewarding career.
Yeah. And I've had some people, agents that were newer moms and different stuff would say like, how do you balance all this and do all that? And I'm 51 for now, for a little while longer. And I don't know if it's great advice or not, but I always tell them, be at your kids' stuff now.
Yep.
That stuff goes so fast. And the great part is like 7:30 last night, I can jump on a call because I got to go be at his dinner.
Right.
Field trips when my kids were younger, I got to be at tons of field trips. And most of the time then there was like 4 moms and me.
Right.
Most of the time, because people just didn't have flexible schedules. And so over the years, that's like one of the things like you said, it doesn't mean you don't have to work.
Right.
You might take a call at, whatever you're open to. You might take a call at 9:00 or somebody might text me at 6:30 a.m. But in my head, that means later, if I got something to do, I can go do it for a little while as long as I take care of this now. So it's a balancing act. And I know people talk about time blocking and work-life balance and all that kind of stuff. Do you have work-life balance? Do you feel like?
I don't have a work-life balance at all. I try to, but it's something. It's I guess it's always under construction, trying to improve that work-life balance.
Yeah.
I've been fortunate. Just I'll say throughout my working career, kind of like you just mentioned, I've went on a lot of field trips. I've been able to go read to my girls' classes from time to time on like National Reading Day or career days, things like that. That's one of the great things I think about the industry that I'm in. It allows you to give back.
Yeah.
Been able to give back in a lot of different ways, just of your time, whether it's helping mentor some kids in school or different things like that, going on field trips. You get to see a lot of neat things.
Yeah.
And I really, I've been lucky to been able to be a part of that.
Yeah, and I think if you enjoy it and take advantage of it, it helps you see the other side too.
Absolutely.
So if I'm working with a customer that works a 12-hour shift at a factory somewhere and they need to talk to me at 6:30 a.m. because that's the only time they've got, that's why I'm going to take that call.
That's right.
Not only so I can later have some free time, but I'm also like, they don't have the freedom that I have. So why would I not make myself available to them? I've got that freedom. So if they've got that tight window when they don't work, then that's when they need a real estate agent or a mortgage person to be there for them and help them where they're at.
Absolutely. One of probably my favorite closings that I've ever had, I'd probably been an agent about 6 to 8 months, had a kindergarten teacher, and I don't even know if I should tell this story. It should be told or not, but she was a kindergarten teacher buying her first townhome in Murfreesboro, and we went and we're going to sign during her lunch break in the school conference room. Well, kind of got a little delayed with things and ended up closing it in her classroom with some kids there.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty neat to be able to experience something like that.
Yeah. I think that kind of stuff is so cool.
Yeah.
And kids even just being exposed to a little bit about that. We talk about not enough finances and stuff are taught in school.
Yes.
So I recently had a closing with a single mom that was buying a home, and she actually took her 2 sons out of school for the closing, brought them to the closing, had them sit through the closing. I think the oldest was 12 or 13 and the other little boy was 6 or 7. And she basically just stopped a couple times and said, "Do y'all understand?
Yeah.
What mom's doing right here? This is going to be what mom pays every month so that we can buy the house." And it like gave me chills talking about it. It was so cool that she was thinking ahead and saying, "I want them to be exposed to this and not only understand like that they're going to be homeowners, but the sacrifice that she was making." She's explaining all that to them.
Yes. And, being able to expose your kids to that, I think that's awesome. A lot of times we're in a closing and sometimes there's littler kids and, parents get, I'll say frustrated with their lack of sitting while they're signing the papers. But you know what? Exposing your kids to that, I think that's awesome.
Yeah. It was really cool. It was a cool moment and really made me stop and go, wow, I wonder why more people don't talk to their kids about that. Because, in school they don't learn anything. And then it's almost like, I don't know, it makes me feel like leave it to Beaver days or something. We're like, this is adult stuff.
Right.
You don't need to know about this adult stuff. We'll take care of it over here. And it's like, they probably need whatever exposure they can. And they've got, phones in their hand all the day. They're exposed to everything in the world. So why shouldn't they know what's going on with home ownership and finances and that kind of stuff?
Absolutely. I think it, maybe not to having them signing papers or anything, but to know, hey, this is something, you've got to pay every month. You've got to do this.
Yeah.
The earlier I think you can expose kids to it, I think the more maybe success they're going to have with those things.
Yeah, for sure. So is your plan to be a lifelong Murfreesboroian? Is that how you say it?
I tell you, if you ask me that question now, I would say yes. But this afternoon at 4:30 or 5, I might give you a different answer. Plan on staying in Murfreesboro. Don't have any plans, but our youngest will be going into the 8th grade next year. So ask me that in 4 or 5 years, and maybe that answer will change a little bit.
Yeah.
But absolutely love Murfreesboro. I think it's probably the best city to raise your family in. We're located great where you can be down in the Gulf at the beach in 7 hours. You can be in the mountains in 3.5 hours. I wouldn't want to be raising my family anywhere else.
Yeah. That's how I feel. Everybody's always like, where are you from? Because nobody's from here. And I'm like, I was born in Nashville, live in Murfreesboro now. I hadn't traveled the world, but look how many people are trying to come here.
Yes.
And it makes me go, well, we've got it pretty good. Maybe that's why I don't want to live anywhere else.
There's been a lot of people, as we kind of mentioned earlier, have moved here from all over the country.
Yeah.
And whether it's, somebody moving from the north, somebody from the west, you hear about, the cities they're coming from and some of the problems. And it's like, is Murfreesboro perfect? No, it's not. But even with the problems we have, still want to be here.
Yeah.
Great place to raise a family, great place to work. I think one day we may see Murfreesboro connect to Nashville.
Yeah.
But you know what? Right now, I think we are the hit city, and I think it's where everybody wants to be.
Yeah, I agree. It's an awesome place. Awesome
Absolutely.
place. Well, if somebody does want to reach out to Cousin Charlie and figure out, how to get the ball rolling or just have some questions about anything, how's the best way to contact you?
Absolutely. I'm always available by phone. It's 615-653-7397. Or you can get me at charlie@johncjones.com.
Awesome. Thank you for being here today. We really appreciate it, Charlie.
Absolutely. Appreciate it. Thank you for having me, Jamie.
Absolutely. Hey, guys, reach out to Charlie if you're thinking about selling or buying, or if you just got questions about real estate, whether it's today or something you're thinking about in the future. Great resource and a great guy. You'll really enjoy working with him, and I think you'll really enjoy getting to know him. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.